it. You can put it on the board. Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you see their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, of course, the king of all, those cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Boy, I got to tell you, those are the best damn steaks I've ever had. As a matter of fact, try out those burgers. The Prime Angus and Wagyu burgers, the big behemoth half-pounders, probably the best you'll ever have as well. Shop from the comfort of your own home at UppercutChops.com. That's www.UppercutChops.com, or on your mobile device. Or if you want to give a call, go ahead and find out what's for dinner. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. All right, and a big welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. Magic 97.9 FM right here in Las Vegas, Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Wall Cable TV, as well as hotel television in over 500,000 rooms, gaining about 4 million impressions per hour. In fact, we're here with a very special guest. Everybody else on Instagram, Facebook, and AMP TV, guess what? We're going to let him introduce himself. Go ahead.
I am Billy Hayes, and I'm very happy to be on the show, Sal.
All right, Billy. For those people that don't know who you are, you happen to be a New York Times best-selling author for an Academy Award-winning film, and that would be
Midnight Express. Indeed.
Tell everybody about your experience in writing a book. How the hell does this even happen in the first place?
I actually went to Marquette University's journalism school. I had always wanted to be a writer my whole life because you dress the way you like and nobody tells you what to do. Problem is, you have to write. Actually, my hero was Jack London, and I went out into the world to experience life and gain adventure like Jack, so I could write books. Surprise, surprise, I gained a bit more experience and adventure than I'd planned on when I was caught at the Istanbul airport, October 7th, 1970, with 2 kilos of prime Turkish hashish taped under my arms. That's cannabis, by the way. And then eventually received a life sentence in prison, spent 5 years in a Turkish prison, and then got very desperate and very lucky and managed to make an escape. It was strange because it was a highly publicized escape. When I stepped off a plane at Kennedy Airport, there were 100 shouting reporters with lights and cameras and people asking questions. Billy, what's it like to be home? I don't know. I just got here. I haven't even seen my mom yet. But it led me to writing Midnight Express, the first of my 4 books. And I wasn't even finished writing the original Midnight Express when I was contacted by some folks in Hollywood, a gentleman named Peter Guber, who decided he wanted to make a movie out of this, which was kind of mind-blowing. After 5 years in prison, my big media event was having the guards bring a couple of letters to the door once a week. And now suddenly I'm on TV on all the stations. I'm writing a book about this, and they're making the book into a movie. All rather bizarre for me. It was wonderful, but it was a very strange transition back into life.
That is one hell of an experience. I mean, life in prison. Imagine being told you will spend the rest of your life in prison. Folks, everybody listening in right now, I don't care whether you're listening in Las Vegas, right here in Las Vegas, or Honolulu or Atlanta, whatever the hell it is. If you woke up and you heard, oh, by the way, you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison, what's the first thing that goes through your head when you hear that?
Shock. The fact that it was happening was so bizarre. I'd been in jail for more than 4 years, and I was actually supposed to go free. I was counting out the days on my calendar, 56, 55, 54 days prior to going free. The Turkish High Court in Ankara reversed my sentence. The pressure was on them from Richard Nixon to the start of the war on drugs. And Nixon pressured the Turkish government and everybody else that the U.S. aided, which was everybody back then especially, to increase the drug penalties. And what the Turks did was they showed the U.S. government that they would increase their drug penalties by putting fools like me and unfortunately a couple of American women and a guy all whom received life sentences after mine, to show the US government they were enforcing drugs. And that's what happened. Instead of going free in 54 days, I was looking at the rest of my life in prison.
Well, think about this. Now, we've seen a lot of athletes. Now, yes, it is a sports show, folks. So guess what? There's a sporting aspect to this, I promise. But think about the idea that, look, we have all these professional athletes. And I talk about this tirelessly, where this one plays this sport. And guess what? Because he's privileged, he's an athlete, he gets preferential treatment and this kind of crap and whatever. So they can go back and play theirs. And here's a perfect example. Here's Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson did not get arrested for anything. He did not get indicted for anything, whatever. However, there were 30 women that were paid off by the Houston Texans on his behalf. And imagine the idea that because this guy, in my opinion, I could say that, because this guy is an athlete, well, he was given preferential treatment. In my opinion, I think it's complete and utter BS. And he gets to go on his way in the sporting world, whereas you did not get to go on your way, with the exception of your own heroics, because you were a regular guy.
Right. Well, Brittany Griner is the same situation. She's a world-class star, but she's in prison now in Russia. I don't know. I've been talking about her. Various folks have asked me what I would say to her and her family. At this point, there's not much you can say other than I hope things work out for you, because I think she's going to be there a while. As a political pawn, she may get traded back for some Russian arms.
For the merchant of death.
Exactly. But, I feel for her and her family only because I'm looking at it from a very personal point of view. As an athlete, I think she has control over herself in a way that non-athletes don't, in terms of your body and your mind. And my advice is, in prison, you have no control over anything except yourself. And I did yoga in jail. Literally, yoga saved my life in prison. It still does. I was always an athlete. I'd always done sports and such. But having yoga when I got into prison where I needed it, yoga helps you control yourself and your emotions. And that's what you mostly need to do in jail, because you don't control anything else except yourself. Things happen. We decide what they mean and whether we're going to allow them to affect us or not.
Well, the thing back with Brittany, and this is the thing that bothers me. She played ball over there for years, and she was a champion over there. She knows the rules. Yes. And you can't say, oh, I didn't know. That's a bunch of BS. She knew exactly what she was doing. It is what it is. You've got to know the rules of the country, especially when you've been there as a professional athlete for 4 or 5 years, whatever the hell it is.
I agree.
She knew what she was doing. It is what it is. She knew what she was doing, and she hates the country from a standpoint, well, there's no, and I say this because it's my opinion, there's no place for the national anthem or the U.S. flag, the American flag, in the WNBA. What the hell is she saying? And now she wants to be rescued from the country that she seemingly doesn't like? What kind of crap is that?
Well, she made a mistake for sure. The fact that she'd been there before and she knew that Russia has terrible drug laws. I mean, draconian drug laws. But that's Russia. That's not on us. Knowing that, she said she made a mistake and packed quickly and left her vape in the bag. If you believe that, and I'm going to give her credit for that, that's just really dumb. Otherwise, she'd put it in there because she knew she needed it and she used it. And it does help pain. She's an athlete. A lot of athletes use cannabis to ease up the pain. Right. But knowing where you're going, take responsibility for your actions. I did a lot of high school and college lectures when I first got back. And what I would always say is you do what you like and know what you're doing. Means you take responsibility for your actions because you have to live with the consequences.
Well, ultimately, if you're there, first of all, you have a staff around you as a professional athlete, and you know what the do's and don'ts are, because that's their job, is to handle all of the logistical everything, know the rules, translate them to you, et cetera, et cetera. She has no excuse, in my opinion, but she's leaning back on the country that she seemingly doesn't like. Well, guess what? Now, what they're probably going to do every day is they're going to play the national anthem, the Russian national anthem, and the U.S. national anthem every day to her, if you know what I mean. Just in case, right? In case you forgot it, that's how it goes. But look, Your circumstances were remarkably different. In the next segment, I want to dig a little bit more into those. And outside of yoga, I want to talk about the day-to-day grind. And of course, it is a mental day-to-day grind. I'm going to talk about the physical day-to-day grind. It's not like you're out there making big rocks into little rocks, right?
No, we didn't have that sort of prison. We were just locked in. You get your sentence, you're locked inside, and then you have to survive. And you're also, what you have to do is you learn prison. Here's the way things are supposed to be, and here's the way they really are. You need to learn that difference very quickly.
Right. And you know what? Let's dive into that in the next segment. I got to tell you, this is kind of a cool treat because we don't get to talk about this thing on a regular basis. It's usually sports headlines, or even music. And we have a lot of musical guests on the show. In fact, we recently even had a would-be government official on the show. We've had the mayors on, et cetera, presidential candidates. We've had them all on here. It's a circus, and we prove it every day. And guess what, folks? We're going to be back here with Billy Hayes and his incredible story that you can certainly read about in a film. Also, you can watch coming up. Back here in a few on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
My favorite one had to do with the Green Bay Packers. And I love the fact that they dealt off Ty Montgomery because of a blown assignment. Green Bay isn't Green Bay unless they have a good running game. Then they can win 10 Super Bowls. The fact is, you don't have a running game. You've got 70% passing, and that's not where Aaron Rodgers needs to be. He needs to be in a position where he's got a running game to offset the passing game and so forth. I like the move. Green Bay didn't have a running game anyway, so all they're doing is saying, we're going to get rid of you because you don't follow instructions.
Well, he made one of the most boneheaded plays I've ever seen. There's 2 minutes and 5 seconds on the clock. They traded him on Tuesday.
They should have cut him on Sunday night.
He shouldn't have been on the plane back to Green Bay.
Right, they should have made him walk back to Green Bay.
No, it was a terrible play. Now, he's not a stupid guy. He went to Stanford. He's not a dumb guy.
He's not a dumb guy, but he doesn't follow instructions.
He made a terrible play.
The fact is he didn't follow instructions. And you say he's not a dumb guy. His own agenda he put ahead of his team.
I agree.
Thus, he is a dumb guy. Right or wrong?
Wrong. He just got selfish. You're not going to convince me that a guy from Stanford's a dum-dum.
No!
Yeah, this is Sidney Justin from The Miracles.
So you heard yesterday's show at Roy Firestone. Did you hear a little clip about him going into the office where Smokey was at? And that was really good material, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was really funny, man.
Yeah, and then you heard him.
I thought it was hilarious. It was cool, though. It was cool. Really cool story, man. I enjoyed listening to that.
Right, and then he gave a couple of bars. Can you give us a couple of more from Ooh Baby Baby? And let's see if you could do it better than Roy Firestone. Come on, man!
All right, you know what? Why not? I did you wrong. My heart went out to play, but in the game I lost you. What a price to pay. Hey, I'm crying. Ooh, baby, baby. How's that, man?
That's
Is that
incredible.
okay? Is that good enough?
That's incredible.
That's fantastic.
You know why? Because that's what you do. You're in the incredible business, Sid. That's awesome. Yes. Only on the Sports Circus. You're going to get sports. You get music.
arrested and spent 5 years in prison and was able to escape and wrote several books about it, which we are getting into now.
All right. All right, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the 49ers, home of the New York Yankees, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome in everybody over in Southern California that may be listening in, maybe you're not, over on CNBC and NBC News right here in Las Vegas, Magic 97.9 FM, KIOF over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM, and our friends over in Auburn, Alabama. Big hello to them, the Atlanta Braves Radio Network, WAUD, and 107.1 The River out of Fairfield, Louisiana, Natchez, Mississippi. Everybody else on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Wild Cable TV, Hotel Television, and of course, Instagram, Facebook, AmpTV, AAMP.TV. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. Oh, it's like, oh, by the way, everybody else also on the Mars rover, too. What about those flat earthers, right?
What about them?
I don't know. I mean, is there a Mars rover? I mean, is this really happening? What do you think?
I don't know. I hope they go off the edge. Let them tell us what they find when they go down.
Isn't there some kind of a big ice wall or something some people talk about, right? 200 foot high or something?
I think I've read about that somewhere, yeah, or seen it. But
Okay.
the white walkers are coming, so be careful. Yeah.
Okay. So before we get into all of the story, because when we talk about the story, I want to ask you the question. Now, how many times have you flown Southern Hemisphere to Southern Hemisphere?
I'm not quite sure what the question is. Southern Hemisphere to Southern. What do you mean?
So, for example, if you've flown from Cape Town to Sydney, right? That kind of a thing.
I actually went to Sydney twice. I flew from LA to Sydney twice.
But you're going basically from the north down to the south. But what about if you're in the Southern Hemisphere? Let's say you're going from Cape Town to Sydney. Well, the funny thing is, if you do something like that, it seems as though that the flight patterns, now this is one of those things that make you say, it's kind of interesting.
Maybe it is flat. Maybe the Earth really is flat.
Why is
Don't
it?
tell me that. Don't tell me that.
Why is it? Hold the phone. Why is it that every one of these flights, if you're going from Sydney to Sao Paulo, Brazil, or to Buenos Aires, why do you have to fly all the way north and then all the way south? Why is that?
I don't know. Maybe you should go over the South Pole since you're down there anyway.
That's what you should do.
Yeah.
Does it exist? I don't know. Maybe it's the South Wall, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, but I was just wondering about that. Oh, by the way, folks, a very good friend of the Sports Circus, a friend of Billy's, and a friend of mine's, Bruce Perlowin. Bruce is the king of pot. He's the king of hemp. He's the king of chaos, right? So if you've seen Hemp Inc.
Hemp Inc. is
Hemp Inc. and Medical Marijuana Inc. and Marijuana Inc. All that stuff. That's all our friend Bruce Perlowin. In fact, we did a show with him on how convenient April 20th or 420 day, right? So, right. It's remarkably timely.
Well,
right?
Bruce was originally the king of pot, and I
Yes.
believe they're doing a movie about his story, which is incredible story.
Yeah.
And he's got endless tales to tell. For many years, he was the number one smuggler. Then he spent 9 years in prison, which is a whole nother instant. And right now, I think he's putting together his movie, which will be
And that movie, The King of Hemp, themovie.com. You can also check out kingofhempusa.com. The funny thing is, Bruce and I go back 25 years, right? I'm sure at some point, either you know of or you've heard of a guy named Spud. Spud's a common friend, seemingly amongst the masses, right?
I believe so, yeah.
The legend of Spud. Spud's a great guy. But nonetheless, if you're down in Florida, folks, you know who this guy is. He's the master of wheeling and dealing, nonetheless. So, Bruce and I go back a long time. And I remember, look, Bruce was a weightlifter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's still in very good shape. And, of course, this is an athletic show. Just like him being in good shape, you had to be in tremendous shape yourself to be able to go across, 17 miles across the Sea of Marmara?
Yeah.
In a raging storm.
When I escaped in a rowboat, yes, off a prison island, and rowed 17 miles to the mainland of Asia Minor, and then spent the next 3 days running through Turkey and dyeing my hair black in Istanbul, and eventually making my way to the Greek border and swimming across the river into Greece. But again, swimming's not a problem. I was always an athlete. I was a swimmer. I was an ocean lifeguard. So swimming across a river to freedom, I'd swim 1,000 miles if I knew I was going to be free when I hit the other side. And I knew if I could get to Greece, they'd never send me back to Turkey, not for 2 kilos of cannabis, of marijuana. You know, if I killed someone, aside from the moral karmic implications of killing another human being, legally, I'd have to hide out in Uruguay or somewhere. But I knew if I could escape from the Turkish prison and get to Greece, I'm good. And I was. And the Greeks, they treated me very well.
Okay, so 2 questions. First, what was 2 keys worth back then? Street money.
I got caught on my 4th smuggling trip. I made 3 successful trips, which I couldn't talk about when I got home legally. In fact, I wanted to include them in Midnight Express, in my first book. And my lawyer said, wait. You want to publicly announce you made 3 successful hash trips? I said, yes. He said, the Turkish government, you're an escaped convict. The Turkish government is going to ask for your extradition. The U.S. government is either going to say yes or no. And you want to 3 times tell them, hey, I smuggled. You can't say it. So I literally could not talk about that in Midnight Express, in my first book, which is why the movie that Oliver Stone wrote the screenplay for made a lot of changes. And some of the biggest changes were the fact that all you saw was the bad side of Turkey, which was the prison and my 5 years there and my escape. I actually loved Istanbul. I got along great with the Turkish people. I understand people's objections. I understand Armenians and all the politics that are involved. But as a person, I loved Istanbul. I had a Turkish girlfriend. I made 3 successful trips and then got busted on my 4th trip.
Okay. So at that time, what was the key worth?
I made about $5,000 for each of my smuggling trips, which doesn't sound like a whole lot of money compared to the risk I was taking. But I was 21, 22 years old. Once I did the first trip, I had $5,000. That's like a fortune to me. Footloose, fancy free. I'm not married. So I did it again. And then I did it again. And then I did it one time too many in October of 1970 and got busted.
Okay, so let's think about this. Now, at that age, how old were you approximately?
I was 22 when I had my first hash smuggling trip in April of 69. I was 23 when I was arrested, and I was 28 when I escaped. I spent 5 years in jail. Well,
think about this. For all you would-be Olympic hopefuls out there, right? Whether it's the rowing team, the swimming team, whatever. Now, imagine this guy is rowing a lot of miles for his freedom. So think about this. Now, you think about those Olympic swimmers. Do you think that they're not swimming for their freedom, but what they're swimming for their country? So in another way, it's kind of the same thing, but it's not the same thing. So it's kind of like, look, you're representing your whole country. So why wouldn't you put the same effort in as if you're rowing for your life? I would imagine it's kind of parallel, wouldn't you think?
I would think so. I mean, if you're rowing for the Olympics, you're going to put everything you have into it. Otherwise, you're not really an Olympic athlete. And when I was rowing for my freedom, I put everything into it. I was young. I was healthy. I was an athlete. I used to, I played all the sports. I played baseball. I played football. All that kind of stuff. I used to be a marathon runner. So I was in incredibly good shape. And I was really motivated because I'd been in jail for almost 5 years at that point. I needed to get out. I needed to get free or get dead. One way or the other, I was done with prison.
Well, that's kind of like the epitome of cabin fever, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. People have asked me, how was it for you during the pandemic, being all locked down? Like, that must have been hard. It's like, no, lockdown is one thing. Locked up, that's something else.
Right. Well, and obviously when you're in lockdown, let's face it, what people know as lockdown, generally, I couldn't leave my house, but I could still kind of go to the store.
Yes.
So, come on.
You could walk out the door. I was desperate to go outside at night. In prison, you have to go to court sometimes. And so sometimes they take you in the prison van to the court. And you can look out the windows and see, but you're never allowed out at night in the darkness. And I was desperate to just walk under the stars somewhere, not have to stop at 32 feet when I hit a wall.
You know what's interesting is, and as you say this on BillyHayes.com, BillyHayes.com, folks, check it out. So first, he wrote the best-selling book. then came the Oscar-winning movie because the story was so compelling. The whole, everything that you wrote about, it grabbed the viewing and better yet, it grabbed the listener's audience, right? Because they're listening as they're reading, right? Maybe they're reading aloud. Maybe someone's reading to them. But at the same time, it's like, wow, it was such a groundbreaking book that it had to be made into a film. And guess what happened? How many Oscars? 4 Oscars. Yet the funny thing is, as you had said, I'm going to come back to this when we come back from break. It didn't really win any Oscars for factual accuracy either.
Oliver Stone made some changes.
That's right. Well, I'll tell you what, let's talk about those changes when we come back from break here on the Sports Circus. Here with the great Billy Hayes. And God, the guy's a poker player. We're going to hear about that maybe in the next segment too. And we're going to hear about bad beats in poker. We've had some poker stars on this show. And guess what? We got another one here. You just don't know it. Back in a few with Billy. Don't go anywhere. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus. Join me and Hall of Fame world champion and all-star celebrity guest for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms. Also, thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
If you're trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more.
800-957-6209. 800-957-6209. 800-957-6209. That's 800-957-6209.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. That's 800-298-3173.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you by our friends over at Legal Shield. Legal Shield can help with traffic tickets, texting and driving, DUIs, court appearances, estate planning. Hell, maybe somebody found you smuggling something and you need a little bit of help. Contact Legal Shield. Maybe they can get you out of some hot water. Find out, get some more information from them. 213-245-1305. That's 213-245-1305. Again, 213-245-1305. Or visit online for more information at nocourt.us. That's www.nocourt.us, or email at info@nocourt.us. All right, a big welcome back to everybody. You know who you are. Everybody on TV, radio, streaming. We are here with Billy Hayes. Seems to be an Olympic rower, Olympic caliber rower. The guy can really move when he's got on fire lit under him, can't he? Thanks for coming back, Billy.
Thank you. Desperate men do desperate things, and rowing 17 miles for me, that was the easy part. Once I got into the boat, I'd have rowed 1,000 miles. Again, I was young, I was strong, I was healthy, and I was so motivated. And I kept very healthy in jail. If you're weak in jail, you pray, P-R-E-Y. And so I was very healthy. And I used to do martial arts back in the day. But the thing is, I'm not real big. If you just turn around, there's somebody there waiting to kick your butt. And in prison, there are a lot of people waiting for it. I kind of got lucky in jail. My very first night, I actually got into a fight with somebody. And again, I'm not big, but I was very fast. And one thing led to another. I hit this guy in the face. He went down. And he started screaming, and the guards ran in, and his nose is bleeding. And they dragged me out and took me down to the basement and tied my feet up and beat my feet with this whippy wooden stick, which is called falaka, which is what penalty that if you and I are in a fight in jail and I'm all bloody, they beat you equally bloody. If you're all bloody, they'll beat me equally bloody. So it takes away the motivation to fight. You one way or the other, you're going to lose. So you need to get in, get out, and get away from it.
Right. There's no winner in this one. So on BillyHayes.com, and I'm going to take this right from your site. Folks, if you're just tuning in here, this guy is really cool. Check out BillyHayes.com. New York Times bestselling author. You may have seen that film, Midnight Express. Well, guess what? This is the guy that wrote the book. So it says, first he wrote the best-selling book, then came the Oscar-winning movie, and it continues on with now. In this engrossing, spellbinding one-man show, Billy recounts the true story of his time in Turkish prisons and his brazen, harrowing escape. It's an epic journey of self-discovery, a cautionary yet uplifting tale of desperation, determination, and personal transformation. Hayes was arrested at the Istanbul airport in 1970 with 2 kilos of hashish taped to his body. The Turkish High Court sentenced him to life in prison. 5 years later, Billy escaped from the island. The prison, that is, in the dead of the night, rowing 17 miles across the Sea of Marmara in a raging storm. And on his return to the U.S., Billy wrote Midnight Express, published, this is the part that I like, published in 18 languages. Yeah. That's incredible. And you know what that tells me? Show me the money! That's crazy.
I got very lucky. Most guys coming out of jail don't even talk about it. They don't want to. Which is psychologically is very difficult to keep all that stuff down and in. It's like guys coming back from the war, not talking about, keeps it in, it eats you up.
Right. Now, in the last segment, I did mention, and you said, we're going to have you expand upon this. Look, of course, on this website, it says, if you've seen the movie, you might think you know Billy's story, but you probably don't. Midnight Express didn't win any Oscars for factual accuracy. While the film was about prison, a chilling exploration of the depths of incarceration in a foreign land, writing the Midnight Express with Billy Hayes is actually about the prisoner. So talk about the movie Midnight Express and then writing the Midnight Express with you.
Well, the movie Midnight Express came out in 1978 at the Cannes Film Festival. They premiered the film, which was an amazing thing to do. And it exploded. And I had my life exploded across the screen and across the world. Luckily for me, at the same time, the same night that the film premiered, at the gathering across the street with Rhoda Barrett and people talking to me, and I was totally blown away. I just watched this movie in front of me for 2 hours, and the memories in my head, and people are cheering and screaming. I I wasn't really proud of getting arrested. I was proud of surviving and escaping. I wasn't proud of putting my parents through 5 years of hell, which I did. It's because I wasn't taking responsibility for my life. But when the movie hit, it exploded. And late in the last 7, 8 years now, I've been doing a one-man show, riding the Midnight Express with Billy Hayes, as you said, telling these stories that I've been telling, only I put them in a stage presentation form. I've been doing a lot of acting. I've been a director and done dozens of theatrical pieces. So this gave me a chance to tell the story in my own words now, all these years later, put some perspective on all of that. And I didn't want to do it. I kept thinking, people are sick to death of hearing all this Billy Hayes stuff. But friends actually convinced me, and they were correct, that no, actually, people are still interested because the story transcends my own little life and my little thing. It's a much bigger thing. Everyone relates to the theatrical piece. Afterwards, I do a Q&A, and people have told me, because most everybody's been there one way or the other, down in a deep hole somewhere in your life, struggling to get out. My story was a little bit more compact and dramatic, but it's the same. People relate to the show because they've been there and they know when you're struggling. And the fact that I made it out, and that's what happens by the end of the show, I tell them that. And it's kind of an inspiration to them, which of course is wonderful for me to hear, because I need that kind of stuff. I need to balance my karmic scale and put some good inspirational stuff out there for folks, as opposed to the pain and grief that I caused everybody who loved me back 50 years ago when all this craziness happened.
Well, it sort of reminds me of, if you're doing a stage show, it's kind of like Chaz Palminteri was doing the Bronx Tale, A Bronx Tale on stage, sort of giving a discussion of it. And I think that's kind of the path that I'm hearing here. Is that correct?
Yes, very much so. It's very similar to that. Yeah. And I had a chance to do it. And once it hit, we were around the world. I did it for 7 years. If it hadn't been for COVID, I was about to do it in Las Vegas. In fact, we're hoping that we still will, and somewhere in the near future. I love doing the show.
As a matter of fact, so taking it from your site again, it says Riding the Midnight Express with Billy Hayes had its world premiere in the Edinburgh Fringe Festival way back in August of 2013, with a return engagement at the Fringe in 2014. Right. Shows had 2 critically acclaimed runs off Broadway, and toured the world from London Soho Theatre to Melbourne, Australia. In 2017, it played to sold-out audiences in Beirut, Lebanon, and additional Middle East are being planned. And Riding the Midnight Express with Billy Hayes had its Los Angeles premiere in the summer of 2017. Since then, you, Billy, have made several regional appearances. Audiences, of course, right here in Las Vegas saw the show's last performance just a few years ago. And of course, we're going to see that again now that everything is obviously back open again. And hopefully, when do you think we could see it again?
Yeah, inshallah, as we used to say in Turkey, soon, I hope. Now that the COVID seems to be fading, now that theater and such is coming back again, my producer, we've got a couple of projects going, and one of them is reviving the stage play. I'd love to be doing it again.
Okay, so if you go back to the stage play, I mean, look, there are plenty of venues here in Las Vegas. I mean, this is the entertainment capital of the world, right? Look, folks, you could say it's LA, you could say it's New York. No, this is the entertainment capital of the world. And look, this is even now one of the food capitals of the world as well. We've got some of the greatest food here. Yes. Yeah, it's fantastic. And of course, you being a local guy, just like I'm a local guy here in Vegas, we have a lot of great choices. But guess what? We also have great choices for venues, great choices for sports, for stage shows, which this certainly would be a great stage show, and maybe something in a nice, cozy cabaret environment, and let it grow out from there. What do you think?
That's what my show is. It's a smaller venue. This is not Ka or one of those brilliant big shows. It's just one guy on a stool on a stage telling a story. And I play a lot of smaller 100-seat, 300-seat theaters, which is we've done for the last 7 years. And there's a lot of places in Vegas that the show will work. So let's see if we can get this up soon.
Well, I'm sure we're going to be able to see that, because we happen to have friends in that business here in Las Vegas as well. Because, hey, let's face it, folks, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. Who will admit they know you? Now, it's not just here in Las Vegas. I think this goes in general. Billy, wouldn't you agree here in our last minute of the segment? Wouldn't you agree that you could say you know somebody, but will they admit that they know you?
It depends upon who they are. In my case, when I first got arrested, nobody wanted to know me because drugs, which was what cannabis was. Cannabis is legal now virtually everywhere. It heals people. But back then it was a drug. And it's one of the burdens I put on my dad, this very proud man who had to have everybody around him say, your son is a drug smuggler.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a real downer. But then again, listen, life changes, everything changes. And look, you've grown from this. But the cool thing is, I mean, look, you've kept yourself in great shape from way back in your 20s to where you're at today. And again, this guy possibly could have competed for the Olympics with that kind of heroic rowing efforts across the sea. I tell you what, in a raging storm on top of it. That's a great part of the film. And frankly, I want to see, if you're the guy in a stool on a stage, I want to see a boat, a rowboat, get kind of moved in here. And then when you're going to break or halftime or intermission, whatever it is, I want you to be rowing off the stage, if you know what I mean. Come on, that's great material. Back here with the rowboat champion, that'd be the great Billy Hayes. Don't go anywhere. We're going to talk a little bit of poker when we come back. That's what comes on the circus. Back with you.
Can't beat fun at the old ballpark, friends. High pop fly. That would be a home run in a phone booth. I don't know what the big deal about Cracker Jack is. Did you ever go and buy a pack of Cracker Jack thinking you'd get a prize and find no prize in the box? Here's the pitch. That might not sound important to some people when you're a little kid, especially from humble origin, and they cheat you out of a prize. There's a bouncing ball. Second baseman has a Barbary over to first. It's hard to think in laudatory terms of the product.
I think if there was an occasional box of Cracker Jacks that found no prizes for the little Harry Carey many years ago.
You got that right. And boy, when a box of Cracker Jack to me meant a lot of money. Here's a pitch, bounce foul. That's the most asinine marketing I've ever heard of. One ball, one strike. These guys say, well, you sing about Cracker Jack. I said that I only sing it because it's in the song. Here's a pitch foul back. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised, even to this day, some youngsters who buy a box of Cracker Jack don't find a prize in the box. One ball, two strikes, 2 out. Well, if you're going to talk about our congressman being crooked, here's a pitch foul out of play. Why not talk about commercial products who don't do what they represent to do? They told me when they hired me it was a temporary job. Born and raised in St. Louis, and you can imagine the Cardinals were my favorite team from the day I could remember. And all of a sudden, the miracle of life, I'm broadcasting Card games. I own the town and broadcast them for 25 years, and I thought they're going to give me a gold watch, and they gave me a pink slip. Then I went out to work for Charlie Finley for a year, and that's par for the course. Came to Chicago, and I was with the White Sox 11 years, and now with the Cubs. Never missed a game, never missed a time at bat, never missed a half inning that I was supposed to do. You know, Chicago is such a marvelous city. Hey, we got some Chicago people. You know, you never succeed in this business until you've had the experience of working with a terrible hangover. Not until you've been able to come through with flying colors under those circumstances can you consider yourself a professional. Lord knows, I've had more than my share of hangovers. There's a drive, way back. It might be. It could be. It is. Holy cow! This crowd is wild.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, CSNCoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's CSNCoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out, folks. All right, a big welcome back to everybody on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. Magic 97.9 FM right here in Las Vegas. Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Wild Cable TV, Hotel Television, and 500,000 rooms, plus from coast to coast. And Instagram, Facebook, and AMP TV. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. We are here with Billy Hayes, who happens to be an incredible writer, a New York Times best-selling author, as well as a pretty good rower, a pretty good swimmer. He's good in martial arts, and he's also a poker player. Talk to me about poker.
I learned poker. I played poker with my grandma in the Bronx with my mother and my father, and my granny would play poker with us, and she'd actually like take our nickels and dimes, and my mom would say, "Nana, give them back. That's their lunch money." And she'd say, "No, nobody gives back money in the real world. Teach them about the real world." And then, of course, as she's leaving, she slipped you a couple of dollars. But I've always played poker. I've always been a poker player. We played poker in jail. Again, I played poker in places where sometimes the worst thing you can do is win all the money because everybody knows you have it. And not only do they know where you live, they literally know where you sleep. They know where your club is, and you just won all this money. So gotta be careful playing poker and where you play. That's for sure.
That's interesting. It's like I have a Game King slot machine in my house, and whenever I have a big win, right? So it's like a hand pay thing. I actually have to give myself the tax form, and I actually have to pay myself. So it doesn't really pay to be a big winner on my own machine. I won a $200,000 jackpot, but then I had to pay myself, and I couldn't pay myself. It was ridiculous. But nonetheless, so you've been in the World Series of Poker as well.
Yeah. I played this year. Bruce Pearlwind, King of Pot, entered me and Hemp Inc. into the World Series. I played the first day and actually got knocked out the second day with what we discussed earlier. It was a very bad beat that none of your listeners want to hear, but it broke my heart because I loved the World Series. The energy. I mean, I've done a lot of poker in a lot of places, but nothing is quite like this. People from all around the world playing and the intensity of what's going on. And what you realize is one of these guys, the rooms over there had thousands of guys sitting around the tables. One of them is going to win $10 million, which they did eventually, 7 days later. But I wasn't one of them. So let's see what next year brings.
Right.
Show me the money!
That's all I want, man. Just show me the money. Let's see where it's coming from.
Me too.
But you know, there's a lot going on in these poker games. So we had who's the color commentator from the World Poker Tour? Vince Van Patten. So we had Vince on the show. Vince was a lot of fun.
Vince is terrific.
Man. Just an electric personality. One of those guys that
he's got stories. Vince has got some stories. Yeah.
Boy, he's got some great stories.
Yeah.
So we've been fortunate on this program to have guys like you and Vince and Daniel Negreanu and just from the poker world, Raymer as well, Fosselman Raymer, right? We've had some great personalities on here, but at the same time, there's so much going on at the poker table that people think, oh, you're just playing cards. No, there's a lot of probability. There's some statistics going on. There's psychological profiling going on.
So much.
What was the part that you love the most about it besides the stacks of money?
Besides the stacks of money, exactly. I'm actually an actor and a theater director. I've done dozens of pieces as an actor and a director, and I love the process of sitting around in the circle, rehearsing and working with other actors. If something works, if a scene works, it's like, good, move on because I got 19 more scenes to do that day. If it doesn't work, it's because something doesn't feel right. So you keep working till it feels correct. And when you're playing poker, a lot of that is looking at the other person. You know the number. Everybody knows the numbers. They know how it's played. Then you come down to the other people. And is he telling me the truth or not? And that's what it is. Is he pushing? Is he bluffing or not? And I'm good at reading people. It's kind of like part of, as an act, a lot of actors actually play poker because, well, they got time off in between work and they're good at reading people. And that's the big part of poker.
Okay, so they're good at reading people. What if they're wearing sunglasses? You're just looking at body language then, aren't you?
I'm looking at body language. You're looking at betting patterns. I also listen to voice very much because I found that if someone says, I'm all in, and that little catch in the throat, I'll put all my money up if that sounds the certain way because they're all in, but that sound in the throat indicates they're bluffing. It's a sound like, I used to be a lifeguard. When you're lifeguarding up in the chair, people are screaming and yelling in the water. But if somebody's really in trouble, the sound they make is so distinct. I got my whistle off, I got my hat off, and I'm going in the water. Well, there's a sound that people make playing poker too. It tells me they're bluffing. And sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong.
So essentially, you could double as a polygraph tester, like the human lie detector.
I don't know about that because there's a lot smarter people than me, but I can play poker.
Really?
Say hello to my new friend.
If that's the case, I mean, look, think about this. So you could do a stage show, and then when on your dark days, you could double as a polygraph tester until it's poker time, and then you can play poker. Now, that is one hell of a trio, if you ask me. I've got a career path already set up for you here.
I like it. Keep going. I can use it.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I mean, I think that's going to keep yourself very busy, and everybody around you will say, well, geez, when are you coming home?
What kept me busy during the pandemic was writing my fourth book, which was great because my wife would have gone insane if I didn't have something to do 6-8 hours a day, having me around the house.
Tell me about the book.
This is the fourth book, Midnight Express Epilogue, Train Keeps Rolling. The first book was Midnight Express. Then 10 years later, I wrote another book, Midnight Return, which is sort of a follow-up. And then this book came 20 years later. It's sort of a wrap-up of my life, where things have been. And it's a tribute to my parents in a way, too. I discuss my parents in this book quite a bit. And I actually got to go back to Turkey, go back to Istanbul in 2010. Yes, they were making a documentary about me. A husband and wife team who I'd known for years heard me talking about how I would love to go back to Istanbul and reconnect with the Turkish people. Again, Turkey hated me for the movie and for the courtroom scene in the movie where I'm being resentenced to life and Oliver Stone's words come out of my character's mouth, which is, you're a nation of pigs, I blank you all, I blank your sons, I blank your daughters. Well, Turkey didn't like that very much. The insanity of that, I mean, you've just been sentenced to life in the country and you curse out publicly, it made no sense. What I actually said was, if you're going to sentence me to more prison, I can't agree with you. All I can do is forgive you. Forgive you, blank your sons and daughters, big difference. The world heard blank your sons and daughters. The Turks heard that, and they hated me for that scene in that movie. I didn't say that. That's Oliver Stone's words. So I got a chance to go back in 2010 and talk to the Turkish people and talk about what we're doing here in terms of, the book and the changes between them and how I felt about the country. And that was very cathartic. Writing the book was the most cathartic thing I could have done. After 5 years in prison, when I got out, everybody said, you really should talk to a therapist. I said, oh, I don't need therapy. I'm fine. I desperately needed therapy. But I got home on a Friday. By Monday, I was writing the book. And that truly was the therapy. Getting it out of me, having the story stick to the pages helped me so much. And I've been talking about it ever since. I kept thinking I'm going to get away from all this. But no, people are interested in the story, again, because they've been there one way or the other. Everybody's been down in a really dark hole and having everything on the line, and they can relate to the stage play. It's why people liked what I was doing. And it was good for me, obviously. I've been talking about this forever. Must be therapeutic.
Well, look at the impact you've had here in our last couple of minutes of the show. I mean, you've had an enormous impact in the entertainment community, in the writing community, and in real life, too. For all those people that think that you've had it rough, you haven't had it rough. Ask that guy.
Right.
That guy knows a little bit about having it rough, if you know what I mean.
My life, if nothing else, is a cautionary tale. I used to do a lot of college lectures, and I would literally walk out into the front, spread my arms, and say, if you're this stupid, look what can happen to you. And all these college heads would nod. But the truth is, they don't really know. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. You have a joint behind your ear in Nevada, it's legal. You cross the border into, I don't know, Utah or however it used to be, it's a couple of years of your life. There's a geographical distinction in legality, and you'd best be aware of that, especially if you're young and you think you can get away with anything, as I did. I thought I was invincible. That's how stupid I was.
All right. So listen, Billy, I want you to take a minute and tell everybody about what's coming up for you, your book, where they could find you, how they could sign up to your newsletters, et cetera, et cetera. And frankly, you've got a very interesting story. We just don't have enough time here. It's just that simple. So take a minute and talk about all that, how to follow you on social and so forth.
Okay. Well, the only social media I am on is Facebook. This dog don't tweet and I can't do any of the other stuff. I used to have a 16-year-old next door who would come over and say, fix this or fix that, or don't hit that button again. And then I wouldn't hit it again. But I'm on Facebook. I've got 4 books out now. The last book is, as I mentioned, the Midnight Express Epilogue, which is sort of a follow-up of Midnight Express, Midnight Return. If you go to billyhayes.com, it's the website that's been put up by my producer. I can barely open my own emails, but they've got all the books, they've got the stage play and all the information related to Billy Hayes, which I wish my dad was still alive to see what this has become, because I put him through so much grief. And to see that I'm doing okay now. I've been married for 42 years. That's the best thing I ever did. Not the easiest thing I ever did, but the best thing I ever did. And we're doing a couple more productions. We're trying to do a 6-part miniseries about the real story, not just the one that people see from the movie Midnight Express. And that's up in the wind. We'll see where that comes. And I'm waiting to do my stage show here in Vegas again. I would like to do that very much.
All right. That's great stuff. And by the way, a big thanks for our dear friend Bruce Perlwin for putting this together, because it's because of Bruce is why you're here with us right now. And of course, he's got that movie. It's the King of Hemp, the movie.com. Is that not correct?
It's either that or it's a kingofpot.com. That was his original title, King of Pot. Then he got into Hemp Inc. and it became the King of Hemp.
It's the King of Hemp, the movie.com. Okay, yes, good. That's what it is. And folks, make sure you check that out. Listen, if Bruce is involved, it's going to be ridiculous. We know that. And you've seen him on TV 1,000 times. He's been on Pick Your Favorite Channel. But guess what? This is about Billy Hayes. Make sure you go to billyhayes.com and read everything about this guy. A very cool cat and a fun one here on the circus. Thanks for joining us today, Billy.
Thank you so much, Sal. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's good stuff. All right, folks, we're going to see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. And make sure you check the schedule at thesportscircus.com for all of our upcoming guests. And check out our partners on the partners page as well. All right, folks, I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We'll see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.